Hi, and welcome to Marketing Optimization with Alex Designs. I'm your host, Alex Harris, and today we have a special guest from the website Which Test Won, Justin Rondeau. How you doing today, Justin?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Excellent. Justin is the chief evangelist and editor for Which Test Won. It's the number one weekly website for evangelizing in conversion rate optimization, in particular A/B testing and multivariate testing. As we get started, can you just give us a little bit of background of people who don't know about Which Test Won and what your site does?
Okay, yeah, sure. We're actually the only unbiased publication that talks about A/B and multivariate testing. You'll see a lot of case studies on the web, but a lot of them go on, different agencies or tech sites where, there is some they're putting some of their best work out there for a reason. Where we like to find some of the best tests that have been done by people in both the B2C and B2B space. We've published nearly 400 tests currently. I think we're at 397 or 398 right now. And it's all user submitted content that people bring in. I evaluate the tests based off of different types of merit and actually kind of like an X factor as well. So, they obviously have to be done correctly to make the cut. And then even further, I want to pick tests that people would actually find interesting. We also, for our premium members, we have a premium membership where there's several webinars people can look at that we update, and we also have an actual interview series similar to something like this that we're going to be introducing, I think, in Q1. And we really just, our goal is to educate and inspire people to get into testing, which is seemed to be working, which we've seen in our state report that was just released earlier this month, and really just bringing the community together because it does feel a bit fractured throughout the world.
Yeah, so many people it's now the new thing to do is start A/B testing, and people jump right into it. And I think your site is, especially if you sign up for the newsletter, you get all those case studies and you see which ones you're actually publishing to just get ideas on the best practices of setting up those tests. And
yeah,
I'm sure you guys are learning the consistency across what tests are actually doing well. So that leads us into optimization in general. What have you seen as the best practices for setting up these A/B tests and doing, what we would call optimization in the space?
Okay, yeah. I think there's two areas that I like to cover whenever I talk about optimization. The first being kind of the preamble, all the data diving that you're doing between the quantitative and qualitative stuff within your analytics and different things like exit surveys, user surveys, and different types of feedback that you get on your content. Because you need to understand, one, how to identify a page first, and what to start testing that will actually move the needle based off of these responses and the data that you're analyzing.
Okay.
So I think that that's something that's been overlooked recently, I believe. And what we've seen from we have our annual awards, and we've been getting a lot more submissions because more people are testing. But the quality of them has actually gone down over the years because as new people are jumping in, they're just kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to hope, and they're hoping something sticks. And that's actually a really, really bad practice because in a lot of cases, your tests are going to flatline, or even they're going to be counter to what you thought was going to occur. And unless you do your due diligence before of all the research, you're not going to know why. And understanding that why is the most critical part of an A/B test.
Right.
The test will give you the data or the what, but you have to get really good as an optimization professional at interpreting that what with that why.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, understanding really the customer's behavior and really defining that target audience before they even get there in order to really set up those tests properly. That's a great point. You really can't just test the color of a button or essentially a headline that you're really expected to make a bigger difference if you don't understand that why.
Yeah, maybe in 2008, people who were just starting to test could get away with that, but not so much anymore as it gets more competitive.
Yeah. And what type of pages are people submitting? Is it mostly just landing pages? What have you seen?
Actually, we're seeing. I think we do see a lot of landing pages, but that's actually not even the majority anymore.
Okay.
On the e-commerce side, a lot of people will work in their carts because these are the people that have kind of jumped through all your hoops already. So if they've made it this far, you might as well try and optimize their final experience for you. Product pages on, again, the e-commerce side, I think are pretty interesting because the product page has been reported. I think about 68% of our respondents on our state report reported like positive results from testing on product pages, but a quarter of e-commerce marketers aren't testing there yet. And there's a lot of opportunity that people can kind of grasp by working with their product pages, and likely these will end up being template tests for larger larger sites, but they can scale down and do their due diligence again by looking at just individual pages, and then making sure it scales out to the type of traffic that would be consistent with the test that they've run. On the B2B side, we do see particular kind of deep pages when they're trying to, like, I think it's kind of like the final step page, not quite like where like the lead gen form is, where it's like contact a sales rep, do you want to be contacted? A lot of people work there. Homepage tests come in very few, and they come in, but they're generally small changes because that's like the highest piece of real estate and has the most politically charged discussions that occur. And politics and resources have been stated as one of the top reasons why people either can't test or don't test enough.
So there's the committee in your company that says, this may have worked, but necessarily doesn't fit our brand, or
yeah. You have the brand people who will be yelling at you. And actually, we've actually published a few tests where the winning variation we were told wasn't made live because of office politics, even though they showed a 30% lift over the control. And one actually really interesting one that was run was during the holiday season too. It was by this by a home brewing company.
Okay. And
they just did some copy tests on their page, and the higher ups hated the winning variation, and it completely smoked the control. And the copy that they used in the headline was "the best damn beer you've ever tasted." And they hated it. And then so they made them run the test again, and it did even better than the second time. So then they it changed some minds, but still you had that political friction that was occurring. And luckily they were able to kind of prove themselves again. But in some cases, in a lot of organizations, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, you get into that essentially branding versus direct marketing comparison, where because me being a web designer, not necessarily the prettiest designs are actually the best converting. You find that out really quickly.
Yeah, I've been saying that about we have an overlay on our site, and it's pretty ugly, to be quite honest. But I've tried testing prettier versions of it. No, it doesn't work. That we have that there for a reason, because the simplicity works, and I guess our audience can kind of see through the marketing jargon and those tricks because they're marketers themselves. Right. So they already see through it. So you might as well, we don't have to pretty it up so much, but at least on that aspect of things.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I've definitely seen that in the past too. I think it's just because if you see something that's necessarily pretty and it really fits into the brand, it's almost even camouflage. But if you have something that's almost a little out of the box and different, then it kind of creates almost a friction where it actually makes you think when you actually see it. So I've definitely seen that in my designs.
Yeah, well. I've been a big advocate of causing like an aesthetic dissonance in the visitor.
Right.
But you don't want to make it so shocking that it causes them to leap back. It needs to be subtle, but that's why you'll see the different color scheme changes on major calls to action, or why you'll see things like the kind of bland overlay actually work out for us, or the different things that you've seen in your past as well.
Yeah, and I want to touch on something that you talked about as far as the shopping cart process. I think that's a good point as far as where to figure out where to test, because the homepage is definitely important, but it may not be the most important part of your funnel. And I think in e-commerce specifically, when you're testing people adding to the cart and then actually getting that purchase, essentially is almost the most important area of your website. So, testing that checkout process is so important. Have you seen any really consistency of how people can improve their leak in the funnel to get people to actually complete that goal?
I've seen some actually pretty interesting stuff from the e-commerce perspective. One, I think it comes down, there is you need a simplicity within your cart when they're in there itself. Right. You don't want to distract too much, which is why cross sells and upsells are a great idea, but in the cart, it might not be the right place. A good way to deal with this if you have to meet your goals for the month or anything would be to try testing your thank you page after they purchase and throw an upsell in there.
Absolutely.
Because you already have people that converted on the one or multiple products they put in their cart. Now if you have an upsell that would have distracted them in the cart, they've already done your action if it's on a thank you page, and they're still kind of excited about their purchase. And if it's something that's very relevant and you've targeted correctly with that upsell, you're going to end up seeing some major results. And thank you pages are actually some of the most under-tested pages.
Absolutely.
Because people are like, oh, we got our sale, we're done.
And I think it's probably one of the easier pages to actually test, especially, everyone, a lot of people moving to hosted e-commerce solutions where the cart is actually sometimes harder to test than the thank you page, which is essentially just, basic HTML or something. It's actually easier to test.
Exactly.
And it's so much easier to sell to people who've already bought from you.
Yeah, you're following that basic principle that they're now a return. They're now an actual customer that purchased, and in essence, it's almost a returning customer. So they just haven't left quite yet.
Yeah, retention over acquisition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that plays into one of the key metrics that I think people don't follow as much is that lifetime value. Upselling and getting the most out of each individual customer over time. That gave us some really great insight. Let's talk about the premium membership. What do you guys have plans for the premium membership of Which Test One?
We include a variety of white papers in the industry discussing things like office politics, things to test, email tests, and other topics. We also include quarterly webinars that we put together.
Oh, really?
That might be shifting a little bit. We've noticed that webinars have become kind of a dime a dozen lately, and people are getting kind of sick of them. So they just take a really long time. So I want to maximize the attention span of my members. So we're actually going to be expanding that piece, and I think talking about different pieces of content that'll be launched in Q1 with an actual major site redesign too. So I'm really excited about that.
I was actually curious about that. Because I know it hasn't changed too much in the past.
No, it has, and that was one of my main goals when I joined Which Test One was to get the site a bit more updated, and kind of the idea was from the ground up to make it an extremely testable site, and also to modernize it as well. Because the people that are hitting our site are in their late 20s, to maybe mid 40s. Like that's our major demographic, and these are people that value a good design. And I think they look at when they look at design, they use that's almost a something that gives you credibility. At that level, where if your design's dated, they feel that you're a far less credible source.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is kind of the big shift that we were making when we decided to move in that direction.
So the big question is, are you testing it?
Yes, we will be. Well, we're still in the development stages right now.
Okay.
In all seriousness, there are ways that you want to go with things, and you have a general, at least outline that you want to work with, and then from there we were making it from the ground up where it'd be very easy to test different nodes and all types of things, like how things would work and function.
Okay, cool.
We did have a plan for. It's a radical redesign. So as we implement it, we will be probably letting it going out to a smaller set of people as we launch, and then from there kind of tweaking different iterations as it goes out. But we will be testing. We will I guess what is it? Drink our own Kool-Aid, or however you want to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Practice what you preach.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, it is a pretty simple site right now, so it's you can tell that it's definitely due for a redesign. So I'm excited about that. So let's conclude on that. Let's tell people how they can find out about the the webinars that you offer, and how can they get in touch with you.
All right, great. Well, just go to whichtest1.com. Okay. You'll see. I believe it's in the. You'll get an upsell really on anything. You'll hit a paywall on anything that's not the actual test itself. You can go to the training area and you'll see white papers as well as webinars and our testing glossary, all of which are available for the premium member. It's actually, I believe it right now, it's $25 a quarter or $75 a year to be a premium member. So it's pretty cheap. Yeah. It helps us keep the lights on so that we can provide this service. We are not. A lot of people think we're volunteers. It's a nonprofit of some kind where we're not sure but no, we want to make money so that we can provide a better community, a better experience, and just better information for this growing community of optimization professionals.
Yeah, it's excellent. I learn something every time I look at one of those tests and do one of the quizzes, and I'm like, oh, gut check, and a lot of times I'm wrong for sure.
Oh, I know that feeling. I even like some of the tests I know I'll get wrong.
Yeah,
I'll be like, oh, I know the answer for this one. I'll be presenting something, and this doesn't happen much, but every now and then I'm like, oh wow, I could have sworn that I wrote this. Like, I know this one. Like, how did I forget that?
Absolutely.
I guess that's the territory of the tests we've published, we've seen so many more.
Yeah,
and you just kind of, it becomes a blur for a bit. But also in terms of contact, you can get me at justinr@whichtest1.com, Twitter, whichtest1, and then facebook.com/whichtest1.
Yeah, I recommend anybody really just sign up for the newsletter because the case studies that get sent out are excellent for sure.
And actually, one last thing, we released recently our State of Online Testing report, which has 23 charts about dealing with issues across the testing industry. I think that anybody who's listening to this would love it. Absolutely. It's free. Mm-hmm. You should definitely download it because, and this is something we'll be doing annually from now on, where we want to keep everybody updated on the state of online testing so they can start having some kind of benchmark to work with from there on and know what their competition is doing and who in the world is testing, what they're testing, and if they're actually doing it right. So I definitely recommend hitting that. You can go to whichtest1.com/state report, or you can go to stateofonlinetesting.com to get the actual report itself.
Okay, great. I really appreciate your time, Justin. I don't want to keep you very much longer. I know you're a busy man. And, but thanks a lot, and see you online.
All right. Have a good one, Alex.
Thank you.
Marketing Optimization, podcast with Alex Designs.